in, and we'll get started. All right, this webinar is how to create or how to engineer a career and life you love. So my business is Your Career Engineer, and my goal is to help women and men in engineering and technology create a career and life they love. And so I'm going to work you through a process for this. And in this webinar, I'm going to teach you 3 things about engineering a career and life you love. The first is balance. It's how to evaluate your life and look at it from an essentialist perspective, and I'll explain to you what that means. Vision, how to create a personal vision filter and identify where you want to be 3 to 5 years from now. And goals, how to set and achieve goals that will help you attain that career and life that you love. All right, so I know that each of you have your own great personal story. I'm not sure if you consider yourself an author, but you are, because you're the writer of your own personal story. And you can choose to let life happen to you, or you can choose to be your own author and write the story as you want it to be told. So that's called being intentional. And being intentional is being purposeful. So it's important to be intentional with your life if you want to be the author. Otherwise, life just happens to you. So first, let's talk about balance. Balance is a big part of taking control of your life. And one of the best books that I've read on balance is the book Essentialism by Greg McKeown. So some of the content that I have in these next slides are from that book. And so if you want more about what I'm going to talk about, that book is a wonderful resource. So let's think back about when you were a freshman in college. I mean, I don't know about you, but I really had no clue what was going on. And I was just a little bit stressed out. So when I entered freshman engineering at UF, I took my studies really, really seriously. And so seriously that I was just stressed to the max about getting good grades, getting involved in activities, making friends. And so stressed that I had these jaw pains. And I vividly remember calling my mom crying about how hard school and life was. And her response was, well, what kind of grades are you making? And I was like, well, A's and B's. And she said, well, okay, all you have to do is feed yourself, go to sleep, and go to class, and you can do it. And the simplicity of that really encouraged me. You know, life isn't about a zillion things. It's about these few essential things that are really important. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about balance. And when we're out of balance, we feel it, like in our jaw pain and anxiety, and everybody has their ways of feeling it. So it's really important to balance your life. So I'm going to start getting into a little bit of this essentialism topic. So I really like this quote: "The wisdom in life consists of the elimination of the non-essentials." So we'll talk about on the slide, there's the non-essentialist perspective. You have to be all things to all people. You have to do stuff. It's all important. How can I fit it all in? Whereas the essentialist standpoint, a more balanced standpoint, is less but better. That you have the ability to choose, that there's only a few things in life that really matter. And then asking questions about, well, what are those trade-offs? If I do this, what am I giving up? So that's really what it's about. An essentialist mindset is looking at everything in life and filtering out what's absolutely essential so we can make that highest contribution to what really matters. And this next slide, there's a little bit more of the definition of the essentialist versus the non-essentialist. And I have to tell you, we really live in a non-essentialist society. You know, we always want more. Whatever is most important that gets thrown on our desk, that's what we do. We say yes without thinking. We take on too much. We just feel out of control and overwhelmed. I know if I could see your faces right now, you'd all be nodding like, yeah. I mean, who isn't overwhelmed? Whether you're in college or regular life, we tend to have very, very busy lives. But the essentialist way of looking at life is very different. It's not pursuing more, but actually pursuing less and looking at what really matters and saying no to almost everything except for what's essential. And I know if I had you in the room, I'd say, how many of you have a hard time saying no? Well, we'll talk about that. That's somehow we're wired to please people in a lot of ways. But essentialists, they remove obstacles to make execution easy, and we choose carefully to do the great work that we need to do. And you feel in control and you have joy. I know we all want to feel in control of our lives, and I know we all want to be joyful. And when we're out of balance, we don't have that joy and we don't have that control. We feel like we're not in control. So I love this quote too: if you don't prioritize your life, someone else will. If you're not the author of your own story, someone else is going to be writing your book for you. And so it's really important that you take control, that you're intentional, and you take a step back and you look at your life. So with an essentialist mindset, we believe we have the control over how we spend our time and energy. So we live in an incredibly noisy world. We have social media, we have the internet, we have school, we have work, we have family. Everything is pulling us and trying to capture our attention. There's a ton of noise, but very little is actually valuable to us and important to us. So as we look at everything, we really want to look at what are our trade-offs and our opportunity cost. So I first remember hearing the term opportunity cost when I was in economics in college. And I thought, wow, that's a neat concept, but I didn't really spend a lot of time thinking about it until I had my daughter. And then it really hit home, because after she was born, every opportunity that asked me to go to a networking event or to a girls' night or to even a volunteer event, I had to make that trade-off. Do I want to spend time with my new daughter, or do I want to do this activity? But what is more important to me? And so that whole opportunity cost and trade-off thing really became a reality. And it's important for you to know, is that thing that wants your time valuable to you? And is it part of your long-term goal or strategy? And so later on, we're going to talk about your vision and your goals, and we're going to talk about how that's your filter for that trade-off, to know if it's something you should say yes to. All right. There we go. Sorry. Okay. Balance, the art of essentialism. So explore. So there's a few steps. There's 3 steps to go ahead and becoming more of an essentialist. So the first step is to explore. And in exploring, you need to look at your life from a holistic perspective and see where you're out of balance. Do you have time to sit, to think, to play, to sleep? Are you cutting back on your sleep because you need more time to do something else? Do you have time in your life to play, explore new things? I'm taking ukulele lessons, which is really fun, something I never had expected to do. And my first lesson, the teacher said, you're supposed to play the ukulele, not work the ukulele. This isn't working, this is playing. And I thought, wow, that's such a neat way to put it. You play music, it's play, it's not work. Don't make it stressful and hard. You know, do you have time in your life for those things that are play? Do you have time to focus? So that's really important. And when you think about it, these things like sleep and play, those are truly essential. You can't be your best and most creative self when you're run ragged. I know now if I don't get a certain amount of sleep, my head is foggy the next day and I don't think the best. And I'm not the best mom and the best coach for my clients when I'm not well rested and when I don't have that time to play and to think about, you know, what kind of content I can create for my clients and what kind of games I can play with my daughter. So this is really, really important. And the way that I like to look at our life from a balance standpoint is through this picture called the Wheel of Life. And so Zig Ziglar, who's an author and motivational speaker, he created this as a visual way for us to check the balance in our lives. And so as you can see, the outside circle It says, how will I be remembered? A legacy, a life well lived. You're the whole author thing. Remember, you're the author of your story. You're writing that story. That story is your legacy. And so you want to be intentional with this legacy. And by being intentional, you're going to live a life of purpose, mission, and your destiny. And so you can see there's the different spokes of the wheel: career, financial, social, family, physical, personal development, and spiritual. And I know some of you may have seen this before, but what you do is you look at each of those segments of your life and you use this wheel as a tool, and you evaluate from 1 to 10 where you are in each piece of the pie. And so if we spend too much time in one area or too little time in another, our wheel isn't flat. Our wheel is flat. It's not round anymore. And you can't really go too far with a flat wheel. We all know that. We've been on bikes with flat tires. We're like, we need to pump this thing up. But so when you look at this, even before you sit down and take some time to write the numbers in, which I'll send a copy of this to everybody so you have it and you can do that exercise on your own, you can intuitively see the areas you're strong in and the areas you're weak in. I mean, you don't want to be somebody with straight A's but no social life. I mean, that's not a rich life. Or someone you're all work and you have no family or time to exercise. And so that is not a balanced life. So when you're looking at that first essentialist mindset, you want to look at this and see what your life looks like. And this will tie in a little bit with the goal setting that I talk later on, because you're going to want to set goals in the areas of the wheels that you're flat in, so that way your wheel can become more round. So the next part of balance is to eliminate. And this is really great because we all need to learn how to say no. And that's the start. So I'm going to actually X out of this really quick because I really want to show this. Let's see if I can do this. I really want to show this video on YouTube. So I'm going to bring this up because this is a great YouTube video. Actually, I can just do this.
No, yes. Either hell yeah or no. You can use this same rule on yourself if you're often overcommitted or too scattered. If you're not saying hell yeah about something, say no. When deciding whether to do something, if you feel anything less than, wow, that would be amazing, absolutely, hell yeah, then say no. When you say no to most things, you leave room in your life to throw yourself completely into that rare thing that makes you say hell yeah. Every event you get invited to, every request to start a new project, if you're not saying hell yeah about it, say no. We're all busy. We've all taken on too much. Saying yes to less is the way out.
So I really enjoyed that video because it makes sense. You know, if you're not really gung-ho about something, why should you do it? If it doesn't fit into your vision and your goals that we're going to talk about a little bit, why should you say yes? You shouldn't. So you need to learn how to gracefully say no. You know, we don't want to be rude about it and say, no, I can't do that. But you can say, you know, I'd really love to help you with that project, but my focus right now is this. Can I help you find someone else who could take that on? So that would be a really graceful way to say no. But it is essential that you say no to things and you get really good at saying no. And I still have a problem with that. I don't automatically say no. I have to sit and think about it sometimes before I really say no, but I do. Say no a lot more now than I ever used to because it's intentional and I'm thinking about it. Before, you know, I just wanted to make people happy. I love people to be happy. I love everyone to be happy. So you just say yes. But now you think about it before you say yes. And then sometimes you're already overcommitted, so you have to say no because you have no more time. And if you're overcommitted, then sometimes you actually have to uncommit, and you need to choose, look at your activities and things that you're doing and say, I have been doing this and I just can't do it anymore. And obviously a graceful way as well. But that's really, really important for you to do. And edit. That's the same thing really as uncommit, to go ahead and just edit your life on what is important and what isn't important. And also putting up boundaries. When people know your boundaries and they know the things that you don't do, and the things that you do, then it's easier for people to not even ask. So those are really, really important things about being an essentialist, is eliminating the things that aren't aligned with your vision and goals. And then the final step of the essentialist mindset and balancing your life is to execute. And so in the power of small wins, what you need to do is you need to celebrate each step you make towards that balance in your life. And remember, it's a journey with ebbs and flows. Your wheel is not going to stay round forever. It's going to, get round, and then it may get flat again. So you're going to need to always be doing this process of evaluating your life, looking at your vision, setting your goals, in order to keep that balance. But you need to celebrate when you make a small win. When you meet that goal and you get that wheel, that spoke in balance, you need to have a celebration. That's really important for us to do. You're also, a really big thing with being an essentialist and having good balance is the power of routine. So having a good routine is really important because you design your routine around what's essential. So you can make a list of those things that are really important to you that you need to make sure you do every day. I have this list. I have a little check sheet that these are the things I need to do every day. And I have a certain routine where I do certain things in the morning, certain things in the afternoon, certain things in the evening. And then you don't even think about it. And those essential things just become routine. And without that routine, those distractions and those, I need this right now, will overpower us. So make sure you think about and create a routine that can be really powerful for you. And finally, it's really important to focus your mind and your efforts on what is really important. And that's where we pull in that word intentional again, where you're going to be very intentional about where you spend your time. And that's where we're going to go ahead and talk about that vision and goals. And you're going to create your focus by writing out your personal vision and your goals. So in this section, we're going to talk about your vision. And so I like to use the story of a cruise ship. I just think it's a really fun story or a fun analogy. So if you're on a cruise ship with your friends, one of your friends planned this cruise for you, so you're along for the ride, and you just packed your bag and you're ready to go. You don't even know where you're going. You just paid the money and said, I just want to be in the sun, away from this cold, cold winter like it is today, especially for our people who are up in the Midwest. But once you get on this ship, you notice there's a sense of turmoil in the air, and suddenly someone taps you on the shoulder and tells you that something happened to the ship captain and that they need you to direct the cruise ship. Well, that would be great, but you've never directed a cruise ship before and you don't even really know where you're going. So you're a little concerned. And you know that if you just let the cruise ship float, if you're really lucky, you'll end up in the Bahamas, but most likely you might be capsized. So that could be a big problem. And the reason why I give this analogy, because that is the analogy of your life. You are the captain of your own personal cruise ship. And if you're not driving the ship, you're not going to go anywhere. So you are the driver. You're the person who decides how balanced your life is. You're the person who decides where you want to go in your life. And you're the person who decides the steps that you're going to take to get there. And so this vision statement, which is this next step, This helps you make those right career and life choices. It's that inspiration that you have to keep on moving on the right path. And even if you're faced with hurdles, that inspiration and this vision is going to be your guiding light. And I love this quote by Brian Tracy. It says, "You generally accomplish your written goals, dreams, and vision. Writing them down lends power and commitment to their accomplishment." So it's really important for us to write down our goals and to write down our personal vision. So I have a certain process that I recommend for the vision process. And what it is you want to think about where you want to be 3 to 5 years from now. I did this recently with one of my clients, and he really loved it. And we talked about it after he had done it. And it was really eye-opening to him to actually sit down and think about what he wanted his life to look like. So the process that I have is that you take 20 minutes away from any distraction, cell phone, media, get rid of that noise that we have in our life, and just sit and think and dream and imagine. I don't know about you, but I just love to dream about what could be. So kind of focus that probably close to 3-year mark. And even in some cases, if you're in college, maybe what's the next step right after you graduate? What do you want your life to look like? Where do you want to live? What type of work do you want to be doing? What type of house do you want to live in? What type of social activities do you want to have happen? Where do you want the level of your relationships to be with different people? So sit down and think for 20 minutes. And then after that, then take another 10 minutes or more and actually write it down. And I wrote mine in kind of a paragraph form, but I've had clients do it in bulleted form, however your brain works. But I also find that if you kind of write it as a story, it seems really more engaging and more real and very visual. But this is something that's a fluid process that you're going to want to do often. And maybe in a year from now, you had an experience that you say, you know what, I need to change that vision. And that's okay. It's a fluid process. We're not set in stone. Use it as it works for you. But this process seems to work really well. And you want to write it down. And this is something that you're going to post so you can see it daily. I have mine on my wall right here in front of my computer, and I can see it daily. And as I inch towards that, I can see, oh, I'm living that part of my vision now. And, oh, I'm close to that part of my vision. So that's really important. So on this next slide, this is a really, an example, one of mine. I think I've tweaked it since then. But this is kind of the paragraph form. I want to have a successful career coaching business where I'm impacting women in technology in positive ways. And I could even be more specific by adding, by making a certain amount of revenue. I talk about where I want to live, and I can even be more specific with the type of house I want to live in a 1-story, so many square foot house, be involved in my church and community and pursuing learning, have time for leisure, and quality time with my family, and traveling is part of my vision as well. So I really encourage you to go ahead and do this activity with a vision, because that'll make a huge impact for you. And this is the filter that you're going to use. So if somebody says, can you do XYZ? And it doesn't fit into where you want to be to 3 to 5 years from now, you need to say no. And that's really important. You can also have a vision or mission for your family as well. Lots of companies, have ones as well. So not only a personal one, but you can see, my husband's is very tied to mine. His has a lot of parallels because we want to be in the same place and be doing the same type of travel. So I recommend that you do share this with your significant other, and even do one together, or do them, each do your own, and make sure that they're aligned, because you do want to be on the same page. Now, after your vision, we're going to talk about goals. So you have your plan, you have your destination. Now you need your roadmap to get there. So I'm going to talk about the goal setting process. This is charting your course. So only 8% of the general population can identify clear goals, and only 3% ever actually write them down. Yikes. So if you come up with goals and you write them down, you are seriously an overachiever, and I applaud you. But really, success is the progressive realization of worthwhile goals. So goals are awesome. They give direction towards that vision. They make you think outside of the box. They provide a challenge. They energize you. They sort of provide that course. And so goal setting is really important. And there's a ton of ways to get goal setting, do goal setting. So I'm just going to go through a specific way. We can spend lots more time on this, and some of you may even have better ways of doing goal setting, but I'm just going to give some ideas here, and even if you have your own way, maybe you can take some information of what I say and add it to your toolbox. So I know you want to be part of this 3%, so let's get started. So in setting your goals, you first want to review that wheel of life that I showed in the beginning, and you want to review your vision. So your wheel of life, you're going to look at the areas in that wheel that you're flat in, and those are going to be areas where you absolutely want to set goals. And then you want to review your vision, and you want to see where you're going and what steps you're going to need to take within the next 6 months to get you towards that. And so I don't like to have a gazillion goals because I can really only focus on a few things. And so I like to identify 3 to 5 areas to focus on and make it a shorter time frame over the next 6 months. So you kind of have that vision of what you want in the future, and then you have these areas to focus in. And so the keys to making your goals well are to make them smart. And I'm sure a lot of you have heard of this: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. But this is really, really important, because if you don't have these things, you're just going to be fluff. And especially the specific part. If you're going to do any of these, at least make your goal specific. So the biggest reason that people don't achieve their goals is because they're really not specific enough. Like if you say, where do you want to live? You can get really specific: the type of house, the square feet, specific location, what kind of view, how much it costs. Fill in all those blanks, because it's really important that you really hone in on what you truly want. And in order to be specific, it's also great to be measurable, because a goal is really a dream with a time frame on it. A specific dream with a specific time frame, so that way you can meet this. Because how else do you know when you've achieved your goal if you don't have a time frame, if it's not bound? So if you want to buy this beautiful house that you're very specific on, well, then you need to say by what specific date you want to have that done. And then attainable. Can you actually achieve this goal, or is it unachievable? And most likely your goals will be attainable. You don't want to buy a house if you don't have the money to make the mortgage, right? So just make sure it's attainable, and it's relevant. Realistic is another one. You want to set the goal to where it's realistic to you and relevant to you. And you also want to be time bound. So the measurable and time bound go together, about when do you want something to happen by. So it's really important that these goals are really aligned with your vision. So you don't want to just throw up all these random goals. You want to know, why do you want to achieve this goal? So when you actually write out your goals, I recommend that you pick your areas, you write your goal in the SMART fashion, and then underneath it, you write, why do you want to achieve this goal? Why is it important to you? Because if it's not important to you, you're not going to work towards it. And also, what happens if you don't achieve the goal? What is at stake? Because if it's really no big deal if you don't achieve it, then you may not be motivated to do it. And the biggest thing that only 3% of the population do is to write your goals down and to review them daily and evaluate your progress monthly. And so what I do is I have my vision statement, and then underneath it, I have my goals that are propelling me towards that vision statement. And one of the other things I wanted to mention with goals is I usually break goals down into 2 categories. I have goals that I need to break down into habits. Like for instance, if it's some sort of physical fitness goal where you want to lose a certain amount of weight, or you want to have a certain body mass index, then you would probably have a habit goal, where you would want to have the habit of exercising X number of days a week, lifting weights, cardio. You would say, for instance, my goal is to do a physical activity 3 days a week, and to do arm weights 2 days a week, and to do yoga 1 day a week. Well, those are habits. And so some goals, you basically create habits, which you add to your routine to achieve that goal. Then other goals are a one-time goal. So that goal of exercising, for physical fitness, you're going to want to keep that probably your whole life, right? But you may have the one-time goal of buying a house. And so if you have that goal, that's a one-time goal, and you're going to actually have, instead of habits, things that you're doing over and over to get there, you're going to have steps. Step 1 is to find a real estate agent. Step 2 is to identify what you want for your house. Step 3 is to get qualified for a loan. So you'll make those almost like little mini sub goals, and you can put dates with those mini sub goals, almost like you have a little project and a project management plan. So kind of look at your goals and decide, is this a habit goal that I need to build into my routine and start a new routine? Or is this a one-time goal where I need to detail out the steps that I'm going to take and the time frames and resources to get there? So here was one of my goals that I had in 2014. I wanted to create a business mastermind group with at least 2 other women, where we'll meet 1 hour a week to discuss personal development and business by June 20th, 2014. And so that you can see that's very specific. I have the amount of women. I have how often we'll meet, the duration we'll meet, what we'll discuss, and when it needs to be done by. And then I say, well, why do I need to do this? And basically, I put, because I need to surround myself with other women business professionals who are achieving great things. And that's really because I want to be successful in my business. And in order to be successful in your business, you need to surround yourself with successful people. And then what's at stake if I'm not? Well, I'm going to feel isolated while working on my business, and I'm not going to be capable of achieving my goals. So that was a pretty big, if not, statement. And so I did. I actually created that group, and it has been all that I had hoped it would be. But that's just a great example of setting a goal, adding, why and if not. And when I print out my goals, I don't include the why and if not. I just really include the goal, so I can read it and internalize it and keep it a part of my everyday life. And I really love this quote. The key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities, by Stephen Covey, a great author. But that's all kind of ties in that essentialist mindset, that we are in charge of our life, that less is more, that we need to know our vision, know our goals. Those are our priorities. And other people are not in charge of our lives, because we are the author of our own personal life story. And it's very important that we take hold of that and we look at our life from a holistic perspective. We balance it. We create that vision of where we want to go, and then we create those goals to get there. Because I know each and every one of you want to be successful. You wouldn't want that success if you weren't here listening to this webinar. So I just want to leave you with this quote. And I want to leave you with the fact that you will be successful because you are taking time for personal development. And the people who take time for personal development and who are intentional in creating or engineering a career in life they love, you're going to get there. So I'm going to go ahead and stop